Just about a lot of things. It's a little janky.
This looks good.
Look of faces. I think YouTube should be good. It's good audio. I think we're good to go.
All right. I think we're up and running, everyone. Yep. Welcome to the 034 Zero Bullshit Q&A Hour. I'm Javad Shadzi, and this is Nate Stewart. We're here to answer all your questions about all things 034. We have no exciting new products to show today.
Oh, man.
Go ahead and put your questions into the browser text field of your choice. We don't answer AI questions, so if your question is generated by AI,
we know.
If it looks even dumber than a real person, so we're not going to answer it. Please ask us real questions about anything you'd like to know about our products or services, any automotive questions, curiosities, debates, unsettled debates. You want to know if you're right or not to your uncle coming up for the 4th of July celebrations. We'll give you the right answer so you can go in.
Playing with facts.
Yeah. We deprioritize update questions because we don't always have a right. We don't always know exactly when something's going to be done or ready. So we'll do our best to answer those if they come in. All right, let's jump in. Someone says, hey, again, I have an S38Y with the Gen 3 engine. Would your S34 intake work with my variants? That's a good question. If it doesn't say so on our website, then it either doesn't or we don't know yet.
It hasn't been validated.
We don't really have those here. So, yeah, that's like a European spec.
Yeah, I think Australia got some of those. Yeah. We shoot some pictures of the engine bay and shoot it into customer service, and we can take a look for you.
Yeah, definitely shoot us an email. If it has the Gen 3 turbo, then it's possible our intake would work, but then our full suction bundle would not. That comes with a turbo inlet. So if we don't currently offer anything for that, we should. So when putting in a new rear sway bar and end links, what should I use? Jack stands or ramps? I heard the bolts should be torqued with the suspension loaded with the weight of the vehicle. Yeah, so you could use jack stands, but ramps are going to be best because they're going to simulate the car being on its own weight. Mm-hmm. You don't want the rear of the car too high, so even if you can put the car on the ground and crawl underneath it to tighten everything, that's ideal. But you could put like a couple 2x4s, so you'd raise it like maybe 3 inches if that gives you that space you need to get under the car. There are those like friendly, flaps, automotive parts store ramps, those plastic ones, and I think those probably raise it a good 8 to 10 inches, yep. And that's also going to work. But you want to, ideally, it's with the weight, the car sitting on the ground. Now you could try using jack stands, say like underneath the ball joint. So you would basically set the car down on its own weight, and the control arm outboard would be applying its weight to the jack stands. That would also work, but again, you're going to be tilted up pretty high. But all of that's still better than tightening it with the suspension full droop. Someone's asking about restock and ship times for the B9 RS5 S34. I don't have that off the top of my head. I know those come and go in inventory. So, yeah. Do you want to take a look? Do you report you? Sweet. All right, we'll get back to you on that. The current ETA. It should say on the website too, though. How come my stage 1 tune only burbles and cracks once in a while? It would help to know which
application we're talking about. There's a lot of variables that come into play with when it is going to crackle and overrun and burble. if it's after a lot of hard acceleration, it's probably not doing it because we have lots of EGT considerations in place to limit that, to keep temperatures safe and sane. So that would be my guess. But yeah, if knowing the application will give us a lot more background on that.
Generally, though, it's going to be to protect the factory cats.
Yeah,
that's why they don't run more than they do.
Factory cats or the turbine on the turbo. We manage the exhaust gas temperatures for that as well.
Mm-hmm. Any tune coming for the B9 Q5 or the 4M Q7? Yes, for 4M Q7.
B9 Q5 will be as well. That's going to be the B9 A4 stuff. So.
Yeah, both of those are going to be released pretty much simultaneously.
Yep.
Do you guys do sponsorships? We do. We do limited sponsorships. I think there was a time like 10, 15 years ago when maybe it was a precursor to the influencer, the social media influencer, where everybody wanted a sponsorship. And so I got into the habit. I'm a business guy, among other things. And so I would simply break down, it's like somebody's asking for $10,000 of parts, right? And so if we gave away $10,000 of parts, I always explained that the sponsored person who had generously offered to put a windshield banner on their car and drive around town with the free $10,000 worth of parts, that they would have to generate at least $40,000 to $50,000 of sales for us just to break even on the free parts we gave them. And so I would ask them, what were they planning on doing to generate $50,000 of sales? Because they said the business was just going to pour in as they drove around with this windshield banner in their car. And so then I would just kindly wait for the business plan to show up, and it never would. Weird. That's kind of how I learned to deal with the sponsorship requests. What I'm trying to say is sponsorships typically are not worth much to the companies that are asked to be involved in them. And most of the time, a sponsorship is just a customer who's happy, acting the same as a happy customer who's telling other people about the stuff they bought. So those are the kind of people we like to work with, because it may come as a shock that, like, if we just gave away everything here, we would just go out of business in like 2 days. So because we charge money, we can run a business and stay in business. So these days, I would say the modern version of a successful sponsorship is someone who has a social media channel, preferably on Instagram. OnlyFans is also an option. But it's all about the eyeballs, how many eyeballs, or YouTube. And you're able to expose our product and our brand to a large segment of customers, all while being truthful, honest, and not too bullshitty, right?
Representing the brand.
Truthfully representing the product, yeah. So, maybe you have a viable opinion. You have good insights. You have a higher than the average person's level of understanding of what the parts are, what they do. And so we would give you the parts, and you would act as a proxy to us to expose, educate, and promote our products. And in exchange for that, we would give you the parts for free. This is something that every company in our industry is doing currently. Every company on earth is basically doing some version of this. And so I think sometimes some people are shocked to hear this is going on. But your social, when you log into Instagram or YouTube, almost everything you're seeing is influenced by some kind of business interest. There's just not that many people out there telling other people about stuff out of the goodness of their heart. and spending a lot of time and money and energy doing it. So if you're interested in sorry for the long-winded response, but I think we can clip this out and post it and share it with other people
What
in the future who ask us for free stuff. Is sponsorships, social media influencers. It's a business relationship, and the amount of exposure you provide is quid pro quo for the amount of product or benefit that you would like to receive. So if you have a channel with 500,000 subscribers, you can pretty much go to anyone and ask for anything. But if you have 200 subscribers and you're just getting started, and we have worked with people like that and helped them build up their channel. And, so anyways, that's kind of how sponsorships work these days. If you'd like to put some stickers on your car, a windshield banner, and drive around town, we just don't do those. They're not worth anything to us, unfortunately. But
we'll send you some stickers.
We'll send you a sticker if you'd like to buy the parts. We'll send you a sticker, absolutely. And we appreciate it. We'll definitely give you a high five, and we'll text you a thumbs up, high five emoji, for sure. You'll just be like someone who appreciates our products and is willing to tell their friends about it. And that's 99.9% of what we do here. So our current ETA on our next shipment of B9 S34s is mid-June, so basically any day now. But keep in mind, we may not actually end up with any in stock, right? So we're gonna receive raw materials to make however many, and we may have already sold that many. So this is why the message is always, if you want one, get in line, place your order, and the sooner you place your order, the sooner your order will ship. But these are so popular that we haven't been able to keep them in stock since we released them last November. And we're trying really hard. It's not like we're trying to keep them on stock. So if you have an order in, very good chance it'll ship very soon. If you haven't placed an order yet, you should get it in so that you can get one of the ones that come in. 034 billet aluminum dogbone mount insert versus 034 density line dogbone with subframe mount for an A38P. Pros and cons of each. Which would you recommend? It's a easy question. So if you're looking for a nice improvement in drivetrain movements of that dogbone system, the insert's the way to go. Not too much. You're really not going to have any additional NVH. It will only be noticeable in the improvement of driving and shifting. If you're looking for the most locked down motor and drivetrain, so aggressive street driver, racing, track driving, drag racing, and you don't care about additional NVH, then I strongly recommend the density subframe mount. That will provide the tightest, most solid mounting of the dogbone system. However, you're going to feel
a lot more
the vibrations and sounds of the drivetrain coming through that. We rate the NVH of all these on the website. If you take a look, we have an NVH rating system. So those are the pluses and minuses. You're just not going to be able to get as stiff with the insert as you do with the solid mount and the solid rubber. Okay. Hey guys, wondering for E40, what should the PSI on the high pressure fuel pump be, and what is the plus or minus for ethanol content?
What PSI on the high pressure fuel pump should be? I'm not sure.
That's nothing anyone really.
What if you're talking like low pressure feed to it, or the
you must be talking about the high pressure.
I mean, either way, you can see all that with the SPI app. It's all in there. There's a high pressure request. There's a high pressure actual. So that'll give you the values you're looking for there. There's no one static number, I guess is the answer I'm trying to give to. That number is going to move all over the place depending on load, RPM, fuel demand, that kind of thing. As for plus or minus on the ethanol content, I would strongly recommend going on the plus side a little bit if you're not quite sure. Generally E40 to E45. Going much below E40, it starts to taper pretty quickly into how effective it is. So you can usually err a little bit on on the high side.
You guys still give support and development on the EA113? Yeah. You can check out the website.
Yep. We got
Put in
tunes,
your
parts.
unique- We give the supports. Good evening. In South Africa, we have 95 octane. Would you recommend 91 or 93?
That should be 91.
Yeah.
Is what you're going to be running
Both of them 91.
for our 91.
You can just look online, for the conversion. I think don't we specify too on their team?
Yeah.
On our website, we say 95 RON is
Yeah.
91.
Yeah.
There you
It's all about the knock index and where those line up.
Mm-hmm. Will a new PCV valve replacement be the best to attack oil consumption on supercharged 3-liter turbo engine? I don't see any leaks.
It's one of the avenues that it could be a problem.
It could be, but those also have, piston ring,
Yeah, the oil ring. Those get
oil ring issues, as unfortunately many Audi engines do.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a number. Right, it could be PCV, it could be piston rings, it could be valve stem seals. There's a bunch of issues, but the rings and the PCV are the two most.
The
common
PCV is the
factors.
easiest thing to do. I mean, or easier. So you should just replace and repair anything in your PCV system with new, and see if it improves. If it's the pistons, I would just run it for as long as you can. There is typically, what is it, like 1 quart of oil every 3,000 miles? Or
No, it's
something?
like 1,000. It's pretty ridiculous what they spec as like
Audi
acceptable.
does list an acceptable spec,
Yeah.
but the acceptable spec is whatever you're willing to put up with, really.
Yeah, yeah.
And as long as you're not dumping oil on the
I
tail.
mean, based on the allowable spec before it's a problem, I think you would end up flushing your oil twice per oil change. So yeah, it could be pretty.
Also, some people have pretty unrealistic expectations. I've heard people say after add a quart of oil every 5,000 miles. Dude, that's just most cars. Yeah. These are also high performance motors, and they're just going to burn more oil. And Porsches all burn oil. You're just going to have looser piston ring tolerances and more going on in the motor, so you're going to use up some oil. On number 4, can you look at? I don't know which one that is.
Those are stretch bolts.
Can you just put the notes like you guys do?
I'm getting it.
Could we please get a dongle update that at least dims the flashing light so at night I don't get paranoid?
Yeah, we've talked about this a little bit. We have the ability to do that, not in a way that is easily user configurable at the moment. So any of those tweaks, it's not just a global setting. We have to add interfaces to it and a bunch of other considerations around it for what is a seemingly simple thing, but when you want to deploy it on thousands of devices across thousands of platforms and whatnot, it's a different different avenue and not very high on the list of right now.
I'd also suggest doing a little bit less weed. That would probably help.
The paranoia factor.
Yeah. I know if I smoke 6 doobies in a row, I get really paranoid, so I gotta back off. I purchased the CREC clutch delete for my 4MQ7. Thank you very much. Do I need to take the supercharger off to install? It looks like I have enough room to leave it on.
I was trying to look at this quick.
I think we have install instructions.
We have install instructions. We remove it in the instructions.
We typically just remove it.
We remove it. It's pretty quick to get them off. It's also good inspection time to look at your cores and your some other stuff in there. You might have enough room. I feel like sliding it forward, you're going to start bumping into stuff quick though to get it off the whole housing and shaft and all that. So I don't know offhand if there's enough room to do it on the motor in that platform.
Yeah, I would recommend following our install instructions, but if you want to experiment, you can.
You can always try. Yeah, if it doesn't work, you just take the charger off.
On a Mark 7 GTI, can you just run the transmission tune on stock ECM tune? Just want the stock shift points to be better, and knowing how the stock turbo is quick to upshift.
Yeah. Generally, no, because the TCU is going to increase your max shift RPM, which is going to interfere with the stock far lower engine limiter. So you have conflicting rev limiters there.
And it's going to default to the lower one.
Yeah, well, on those, unfortunately, it'll hit the engine limiter, so it won't shift. It'll just bump the limiter, and it won't. It won't shift.
Oh, it'll just sit
won't
there.
complete the shift.
Yeah, on the rev limiter, right? So.
Yep.
Are the bolts for your dogbone mount hardware kits 034, 509, Y018 stretch bolts? They don't seem to be a new item on your website. Those currently still have OEM stretch bolts. So we've gone through and updated some of our inserts with non-stretch bolts, but that particular SKU still is the older one, but it's on a list of, we're just kind of going through. Our goal is to have everything in non-stretch aftermarket hardware in the future. What is your manufacturing process for Dynamic Plus springs, and where are they manufactured? Our springs are manufactured. They're manufactured by an OEM spring manufacturer who also does springs for the U.S. military. So a very advanced spring manufacturing company. I've been there and toured their facility. Springs are created using a certain alloy of steel that's bent into shape. And then once it's bent into the shape using a huge machine that bends and creates coils, then the springs are run through a furnace and heat treated and then quenched to take the normal non-spring steel and temper it so that it becomes spring steel. You can't bend spring steel before you temper it. So this same process is for sway bars, is you basically take a mild steel, bend it into shape, and then you temper it and give it the spring effect. But by definition, springs don't bend, right? So if you tried to bend spring steel, it would just be really problematic. It'd probably break if you tried to bend it too much. So
I guess they bend, they don't deform. I guess it's the difference there, right? They don't take a shape.
Yeah. I mean, they comply, but they bounce back. Yeah. When I think bend, I think
it's holding that
takes the shape. But yeah, you're right. It will change shape, but then bounce back.
Yeah.
By nature.
That's the idea.
Yeah. So we don't really talk a lot about where our products are made. We have products made all over the world. And we are expanding our spring manufacturing into another country as well, in the pursuit of higher quality, better tolerances. Not necessarily to save money; it's not cheaper, but yeah, it's not, the majority of our products are made in the U.S. We have products manufactured in Europe and the Far East. We choose manufacturing companies and suppliers to meet our stringent and high, quality standards and specifications. So for us, it doesn't really matter where something is made as much as how it's made and the resultant, quality and adherence to our specifications and standards. I think sometimes people like to attribute quality to where something is made, and this is a whole nother topic, but I would say there's very little correlation to where something is made and the quality of it is. Maybe in specific instances you could say that computer processors made in Vietnam aren't as good as ones made in Silicon Valley.
Right.
But just in general, especially with something like automotive products, there's a lot of shitty stuff made in the U.S. I hate to say it, okay. And we strive hard to use U.S. suppliers as much and as often as we can. However, in many cases, we're not able to because either the prices are just astronomically too high, or the quality just isn't there, and it's shocking. But and the bottom line is, if you're good at manufacturing in the U.S., you're going to be making for the medical industry, for aerospace, for the U.S. military. Those are pretty much the three areas, and maybe for high tech, if it's applicable. But you can make, you can. Do we have any parts? Like
I have those.
I should say this is a little metal part, and you could make this for 034 Motorsport for $3, or you can make it for the Department of Defense for $700, or you can make it for Google for $5,000. The same thing that we would pay $3 for, basically. So it just doesn't make sense to sell to automotive aftermarket if you can do aerospace or medical industry, and the cost of things in aerospace, medical industry, Department of Defense, it's orders of magnitude higher than what you could charge for a consumer product. So that's why most U.S. manufacturing gravitates towards those industries and high tech. I remember a quick little story. We used to do all of our CNC manufacturing here at this facility, but we could no longer produce enough product here to even meet 5% of our sales. So we've outsourced a lot of our machining. And but one of our customers worked at Google, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we're shipping some server thing on this huge pallet, and we have these brackets drawn up to hold everything, hold it down, and we lost like 2 of them. Can you make us 2?" And they're just these big billet aluminum brackets. They're very simple parts. They're like triangular shaped with gussets and holes, for fasteners. And so I was like, "Yeah, sure, send us the drawing, we'll quote it out." And so he sends me the drawing, and I was going to quote him like $200 each, right? Because it was a piece of billet aluminum that was going to cost us like $10. A couple hours on the machine. I figured like $600 for both of them. That's plenty. But I called him and I was like, "Hey, just real quick, what have you been paying for these things?" And he was like, "Oh, like $2,000 each." I was just like, "Good news, we can do 1,000 each for a stupid bracket that at 034 Motorsport we wouldn't be able to sell for more than about $150. We had products that were way more complicated, advanced, and bigger than that we were selling for about $150. So and we bailed them out. We saved them $2,000. But that's just a little story. There was some machine shop here in Silicon Valley, making them $2,000 each for like hundreds of them, and we made 2 for less than that. So, and we made a killing, So that's just the state of affairs. Sorry for the little tangent on the U.S. manufacturing, but a lot of misconceptions out there about manufacturing and where things are made and stuff like that. A little follow up on the supercharger clutch delete. One of our engineers says supercharger has to be removed to install the delete in order to loosen the clamping screw, which is on the bottom side, and you can't rotate the housing enough to access without removing.
There you go.
So yes, just remove it. Follow our instructions. We're always going to tell you the easiest, fastest way to do it. But thanks for asking. Is going catless worth it without doing a pulley upgrade?
No, the stock cats aren't.
The stock cats flow really well.
They do very well, even with pulley upgrades.
Yeah, really for the B8, we strongly recommend running with factory cats. There's very little power difference, and it's 100% small legal to do so. Are any of your tunes compatible with the 2019 North American Arteon Rline?
I don't believe so. They've got a unique set of box software versions for that. We have not gone through those. That's a very low request rate for us.
We have some ornery folks in the comments waiting for their questions to be answered.
Yeah, guys, there's a lot of questions, so I've been seeing that.
We have 18 questions.
People are spamming more and more questions. So no, we've got a bunch of questions in the queue. We'll get
just wait patiently like everyone else.
Also responding.
And yeah, you are getting questions answered on.
B9 S4, can I run stage 2 ECU with stage 1 TCU?
Stage 2 ECU. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the free combo, or the free combo, the combo we typically offer. That said, the Stage 2 TCU is phenomenal and highly recommended if you've got a TCU.
Mhm. Between 2.9 and 3.0 T for B9, it seems clear that tuning-wise, there's negligible advantage either way. However, regarding chassis, brake, steering, how much better is the RS5? Is it worth the money? I used to be more neutral on this, but more and more, I would say that the RS5 has a big advantage, and it's worth the extra money. The biggest thing is the transmission.
Yep.
The gearing in it is so good, and everyone who drives it, we have the pleasure of driving Stage 3 RS5 and S4s back to back, and the RS5 transmission, the gearing feels so good and fast. The wider body allows much more tire. The brakes are bigger.
Yeah, you start with a little higher level.
Yeah,
of everything.
I think that I don't know about chassis. It handles great. The only disadvantage for me is it's a 4-seater, and I've got 4 kids. So if I want to take all my kids anywhere, I need 5 seats.
But you can buy a sport pack.
The Sportback has 5 seats. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, listen, you can't go wrong with an S4,
No.
and it's a ride, and you can upgrade the brakes, and but the transmission you're kind of stuck with. But S4s are very fast. When it comes down to it, you're talking about a 1/10 of a second here or there, and, in sub 10-second. Right, potential. So
in the quarter mile, we're at the top of 5th gear in the S4, and in the RS5, we're damn near at the top of 6th.
Yeah, it's almost a gear. It's almost a gear.
It's a whole gear difference. That's huge. So, and it depends on the price. If RS5 is $25,000 more,
right.
Probably is worth it. But if you're talking $10,000 or something like that, I would definitely go for the 2.9. Crackle on CREC tune available?
Not at this time, no.
We
may bring it. Well, no, because that's all part of the advanced launch software.
Oh, right.
The B8 stuff, because we actually do. Again, like we spoke at the beginning, we do EGT controls around all that, so we don't just throw it on a platform and send it.
Mm-hmm.
So no, we like to have a proper implementation if we're going to do it.
I'm surprised we don't hear about this more, but someone's asking about a flywheel that they ordered, and I am truly sorry.
Oh my goodness, yeah, flywheels have been.
I have no excuse, and it is a abject failure of ours. Ironically, or coincidentally, related to U.S. manufacturing.
Oh gosh, yeah, right.
So we had to take them outside of the U.S. because they could not be made reliably in the U.S. And that is why,
despite an enormous amount of effort and time. And
when they were finally made, the quality was not usable. So they're coming very soon. I don't know specifically about the B6, which is being asked about. I'd like to say in the next few weeks, and we should really do something for you. This poor person's been waiting a very long time.
Yeah, flywheels they're tricky. That's one of our very last products we hung on to here in house. Because finding good, reliable, shops that could make them for whatever reason, it's a fairly simple part.
I mean, we used to make them ourselves.
But yeah, we made them here in house.
Flywheels are tough too. I mean, this has nothing to do with the specific delay, but flywheels are going away. Like if you're a flywheel company, I hope you have a game plan, because there's just no more. There hasn't been for a long time. There's a few cars here and there coming with them. So again, please reach out to us so that we can do something for you, or guys, if you can know who asked that question.
Screenshot.
Yep.
Yeah, let's just make sure that we show them some appreciation for waiting so long. It's pretty bad. Thankfully, 99.9% of our other products are nothing like that. I've had not these issues, but that in particular. 2022 S7 with a tune have similar results as a B9 RS5.
In theory.
Yeah, they're fairly similar. B9 RS5, it would probably be closer to the S4 RS5.
It's gear. Well, it's the 2.9 twin, but its gear ratio is similar to the S4.
Right. Yeah, the gear ratio setup I think is going to be about the same as the S4 S5.
You have instructions somewhere on how to do data logs and send them to you guys for analysis. Yeah, we have a playlist on YouTube of 034 SPI how-to videos.
Yep.
So then you just go to our channel.
We're trying to make it easier and easier. And if you're a Windows-only person right now, we have updates coming that is basically it's taken that entire SPI for the mobile stuff, but that entire software package is coming to Windows soon as well. So it'll be getting even easier for you to log for us.
My summer weather makes for a terrible DA here in Nebraska. Would using water meth help my situation at all on a B8.5 S4 Stage 2 Plus ported charger with all supporting mods? Well, I used to live in Nebraska.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, yes, the DA is horrible.
It's rough.
The DA on your body is the worst part.
It depends on the implementation. There's a problem with a lot of these answers. There's no yes or no clear-cut solution. Water injection systems, water meth systems, there's no water meth. Water meth isn't a thing. There's no, when you say water meth, it doesn't mean one thing. There's 1,000 different ways you can implement it and control it and use it and enable it. So there's situations where, yes, it can help. Most of the situations we've seen here have not been very beneficial. If you're just doing a simple water meth setup, the issue you run into is the water is generally injected pre-supercharger. What that then ends up doing is sealing the supercharger lobes a little bit better on the manifold. You end up with a little higher boost, which means you end up with a little higher air temperature because of that little higher boost. You end up offsetting that gains that you're getting from the water with some of the additional air temp, and you end up with a unevenly distributed amount of that media as well after it gets through the supercharger and then into the manifold. It is not the most evenly distributed medium, which is true for almost every water meth system out there. So, does it work? It might work. It might help. Does it work for every car? I've yet to see a system that is, reliable and robust and has proven results on every car it's been implemented on. So it's kind of a hit or miss thing. So
yeah, I mean, you'd be better off, trying to cool your intake charge with, like an ice box or something like that.
Oh, for short stuff, yeah.
But no, I mean, there's really no way to deal with the DA. You can try running in the middle of the night. That's probably your best bet. But the humidity is off the charts in the Midwest. It's awful. Yeah. And just summer's not your time to shine.
Yeah. There are some that will claim, water meth will fix it. A lot of guys will run a much more, basically a higher octane fuel, essentially, in place of it. And that is not the same as a traditional water meth setup, and that has its own issues.
Yeah.
It can work. It's not guaranteed to work.
Yeah, I would be very skeptical on it being a magical solution. Someone's asking about SuperDuper Throttle Body kit delays, and yes, this is related to wiring harness that we've been waiting on from a manufacturer that makes them. We should probably start making them here.
We used to.
Yeah, we used to. We should. Anyways, they're currently slated for a month from now to ship, but
we got to look at that.
We need to push that.
Where we can get the part. I think we need to just do an emergency.
I thought we were
production here.
Can you escalate that? I thought we were making them ourselves just to get through this issue.
I believe there was a connector that was being particularly troublesome for us in terms of supply. But yes,
could be, but those are pretty standard.
Wondering if there are any plans to add a way to export log data from 034 SPI apps so we can analyze the data in Excel.
You can already do that. Any submissions that are done, you get an email of the log data. It is in an MDF format, but that is a industry standard diagnostic data format. So there are tools out there that can convert it to something else you may need, CSV or whatever it may be. So that is already possible. That said, our intent for logs from the beginning is for customer service. So that is, generally the whole logging process is us trying to make sure that we can help you, with your vehicle and make sure it's running how we intend and what we're targeting, and things are behaving properly. So, yeah, that's it. That's its primary purpose.
Is the stage 1 TCU safe with a stage 1 ECU on B9? I see your stage 2 TCU increases line pressure. This makes me think it is needed to not damage the transmission.
No, it's not about damaging. It's not about there being a safety issue. We would not state that you can run a stage 1 TCU if we didn't test it. We didn't validate that it works. That increase in line pressure, those changes we make on the higher level, is a performance and sensation and a functional change that is for in the pursuit of a quicker shift or a different shift strategy, a different speed or transition in certain components within the transmission. That doesn't mean one is safer than the other. So they're going about their implementation in a different way. And the stage 2 is doing it in a much faster way. And to do it a faster way, you need some more line pressure in some spots. So that's where that's coming from.
Yeah, everything that we sell and allow you to do is safe. Unless you do something really stupid. Then that's not our fault.
Free will's a thing.
I have a stage 2 on my Mark 8R. Could I run E50 or do I need a different fuel pump?
Stage 2. I mean, we all of our ethanol tunes for those is going to be E60 to E85 is the blend range. So E50 is going to be too low for what we're expecting.
But I don't know if
I'm not sure
base
what
2 does. But if you're running R tuning, that's not.
That's true.
Something
that's a good point. Yeah, we do.
But then I don't know why he's asking us
about the fuel pump. So I'm not sure.
So if you want to know what you need to do to run one of our tunes, you go to the tuning product page and you look at the required modifications.
And it should say it as well when you're in the process of flashing through the SPI app. You'll get a list of those requirements and recommendations as well.
Someone's asking, new 034 tune for the S4. Is there any power increase?
Generally, I'm assuming this was just some small revision on the server. So no, I mean, unless we advertise it and tell you about it and announce it, all of the data and relevant power metrics are going to remain the same.
But just to clarify, every new tune that we release has a power increase. If you're talking about a revision or an update, then not necessarily.
I think this was in response to they noticed,
but we would not offer a tune that does not increase.
Yeah, no. So a lot of times we'll go through and maybe there'll be some housekeeping where we're bringing all of our calibrations up.
We say exactly what.
So the numbers might change or increment a little bit, but if you're not getting notifications about it, and no, there's no real substantive change that you would even notice typically, and certainly not when it comes to an impact in performance and power.
Please keep the Audi B5S4 parts coming out. Please continue to perform R&D for this platform.
Yeah.
You know what, buddy? I'd like to. It was a great platform, and we've done a lot of R&D for it. I don't know how much more we'll do. The market's pretty dead. Specifically, if there's anything you'd like us to do or you'd like to see from us, let us know. But those cars are very, very cheap now, and I think eBay is getting the most business from B5 owners. We do still have a full catalog of B5 parts, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
We still sell a Stage 3 KO4 turbo kit. I think we may be one of the only ones who still offer a complete kit ready to go.
When the turbos are available.
That's
been a nightmare.
Getting turbos is tough, but we have quite a bit for those cars thanks to our Timing Tech, B5 program. But if there's anything you'd like, specifically let us know. But
continued R&D on stuff like that is so hard because you've got to obviously recover the R&D time and effort, and that's very, very tough these days on the older
platform. And just to get a B5S4 to go as fast as a
what is that
$10,000 B8 S4, you'd have to spend $100,000.
Yeah, never mind finding a pristine example that you do your R&D on, because you need a vehicle that is going to be representative of what a B5 S4 should be. And it is a few and far between critter in the wild these days.
Hello, I'm looking to potentially get my B9 RS5 tuned. I have never tuned a car, so I'm slightly terrified to do it in case anything goes wrong with the engine or trans. Not looking to do anything crazy, just stage one. That being said, any third-party warranty companies you would recommend? I've never used one. I'm not aware of any, but I think
there's plenty out there. I don't know. I mean,
I'm not aware of a specific one that I could recommend. But yeah, you can contact them and ask them what their coverage is for aftermarket modifications.
Yeah, make sure that stuff's covered.
With that said, I would tell you for something like stage one, I've really never heard of a failure related to our stage one tuning. It's just a relatively stock stage one car. It's very safe modification that you can do with confidence. So yeah, it's a low risk modification. I would say you're probably not a good candidate for like stage 3 stuff if you're worried about that, even though that's also very safe and reliable. But you are getting a little closer to the limit or the edge. But the stage one's well within what the factory parts can handle. But the aftermarket warranties aren't bad. I think a lot of times they don't know what they're getting themselves into with aftermarket guys, and so sorry, it's like distracting when I'm trying to talk. I'm getting blasted. So sometimes it's a pretty good deal for what you get, and a lot of time people do get their money back out of what they spend. Are you guys still working on a big brake kit for B8 B9? We are. We put it on hold for a while to focus on some other stuff, but it's moving forward. I think we'll have something out like this summer, maybe Q3. Not this summer, probably more like Q3. Do you guys ever run various tests on competitor tunes versus yours? Any real-world tests as well? Friendly competition? We're careful to do this because we really don't want to base or limit our tuning or engineering or development on anyone else's. However, if we feel like the market is really judging us against another option, we will baseline it as a way to benchmark the competition. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say it's a real common thing. It's not standard practice. We will, from a marketing standpoint, take a look at what's out there on the market. We don't want to come to market.
Yeah, we do competitive analysis stuff and whatnot. If we're not the first to market on something, obviously any company is going to be doing that.
Many times we
see what is out there, but no, we don't run various tests on tunes here.
In general, running a competitor's tune and then advertising something bad about it, that just doesn't work out. We're great, but we're biased, right? So anything we do, anyone who sees what we publish is going to automatically assume that it's biased. So we're really, and I think this goes for any company. Your opportunity is to focus on what you do well and to talk about yourself and to represent and present your work and your products to the market, and then you let kind of the market figure out whose is better. So yeah, I think at 034 we've proven, for almost 20 years now that we have a compelling vision for products. We have advanced capabilities to bring those products to market, and so we really don't. I don't really want our engineering teams even knowing necessarily about what the competition has done, because that creates the starting point. And maybe we can start much higher.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a tough thing to be in, right? You see, if you've seen something, you end up with may end up with like tunnel vision, where it's like, oh, that's what I have to do. You don't properly engineer your solution. You just shortcut or short circuit something. So we don't do any of that here for any of our calibration development.
Yeah,
for sure.
And the reason why that's important is we're not trying to be as good as anyone else.
No,
we're not trying to keep up with anybody. We are passionate and driven to lead the market. We want to be number one. We want to be the best. And our focus is going to be doing something much better than what the competition could do or even thought of. And sometimes there's just only so much you can do. So I can already hear a trolly person pointing out that one product is almost identical to another company's product. Yeah, sure. There's cases where there's just not that much opportunity to advance. But I think in many cases, we are the ones pushing this market forward and setting the bar for the competition. So that's why we don't really focus too much on what our competitors are doing unless there's a reason that would help us to be the best. I didn't get a sticker with my turbo inlet pipe. Sorry to hear about that. If you shoot us an email and request a sticker, we'll be happy to send you one.
Sales at 034.
Yeah, sales at 034motorsport.com. Sales or contact?
Sales.
Is that new? It's like a new thing we're doing?
8 months.
Yeah. Okay. You could also do contact.
You could. So.
When can we expect CREC R2.0 coming for Stage 2 single pulley? I'm loving the current Stage 2, but it has some quirks that I assume will be addressed with the new revision.
Yeah, Stage 2 is almost a complete rewrite, and that is coming very soon.
Yeah, it'll be better in every way.
Yep.
Because that was representative of what we were doing years ago.
Yep. Lots of changes and stuff.
We've learned more, and our technology has improved substantially. So you'll benefit from that being a current customer.
Yep.
You'll get basically a brand new tune that's better than the one you have in every way for free.
Yep, lots more R&D pumped into it.
Yeah.
It's getting updated.
Someone's asking about the results of our new B9 3.0 T injectors. Do we want to say anything about that? We happen to have some here. That were brought in. This is a set of 6 of our high flow injectors. They're, what are they, like 50% higher than RS5 injectors?
Yes, 50 higher than RS5 and 94% higher than S4.
Yeah, over 90% higher flow, almost double the flow of a stock S4 injector. So we have tune developed for these for Stage 3 application, Stage 3 high output. We are currently beta testing that with our beta testing community of users. And the results in-house have been excellent. And these pretty much solves every kind of fueling issue that we've had or limitation or lack of optimization that we've been able to do. This is now enough fuel. And so, yeah, once we do beta testing and ensure that everything goes good through beta, we'll likely make some additional tweaks and improvements through that process, and we'll be ready to release. But we are shipping these injectors to our beta testers, and we have a lot more coming. So, exciting time for B9, and I think from a fueling standpoint, we've made a leap forward here with this product.
Those are also all set flow matched.
Yeah, these are matched sets, all flow matched, and production sets will be shipped with a flow sheet showing very tight grouping tolerances between injectors. Questions keep coming in.
Mm-hmm.
There is oil slowly shooting out my oil cap on my S5 B9. I see the bushing around the cap is a little ripped. Do I replace the whole PCV, or do they sell a gasket for the oil cap? I'd be surprised if it's your oil cap being bad, but you should just buy a new oil cap. In fact, we sell a high tension billet aluminum cap that you could just replace your factory oil cap with. It's likely that your PCV is ruptured and leaking, so you should replace your PCV at the same time as your cap. And we have ours coming soon. It's not available yet, unfortunately, but we'll have a 034 PCV hose and breather catch can system that will solve all the PCV issues once and for all. Is there any difference between Stage 1 low torque 9193 octane for the Mark 8 Golf R? They seem similar in power. I was thinking of running 91 tune and run 93 for some knock protection.
So they are similar in power. That is because they are capped at obviously the same torque output. Generally, though, I would always recommend running the highest octane you have available that you're going to be running in the tank. it's not necessarily better or safer to run a 91 tune with 93 octane in it. You're going to have, the same power. You'll have, sure, less knock corrections potentially in it. You're also going to be running generally a little less timing overall. But what that does is that brings your EGTs up, and you may have to run a little more boost as well to account for that. So basically, what I'm saying is your efficiency of the whole process, of the whole air pump process of your engine, may come down a bit, or will come down a little bit for a lower octane tune. So there's more trade-offs there than just running, and looking at knock protection.
There's really no need for additional knock protection, though. I mean,
the 93 file is
our tune is so refined.
solid.
There's just no issues with that. So I would run whatever tune you'd like with confidence. Yeah. When are you guys coming out with AMAX Klimax for the ZF8 B8.5?
That beta should be
the ZF8, the earlier one, so that's like A6, A7 stuff. That one's going to be a little bit out, but it's coming soon. I don't have an ETA on that for you.
Would love to see same-day shipping on in-stock items when ordered by noon. I'm a very loyal 034 customer, but have to order your products sometimes from FCP or ECS to get them soon. Listen, we don't have a problem with that. They're trusted dealers and partners of ours, and they do a great job supporting the 034 motorsport business. And they are located out east, so just naturally, if you're out east, assuming you are, you're going to get like 1 to 2 day shipping just because of the proximity. I would say majority of our in-stock orders do ship that day, especially if ordered before noon. When something is in stock and on the shelf here, the shipping team just goes to the shelf, pulls it off,
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
sticks it in. Many times it's already in a box, but they can slap it in a box with some packaging, put on the label. We have a ERP system that makes printing labels really fast and easy, barcode scanning, things like that. So, but yeah, it's still going to be shipping from the Pacific coast of California, which is a good 5 days to the East Coast. There's just nothing we can do about that. We do have ideas to open an East Coast warehouse, but we do have some of our biggest dealers, both FCP and ECS, have 6+ figures of dollars of inventory. So we do already have East Coast warehouses through them, and they do a great job, and they are partners of ours. We don't see them as competition. So, but yeah, appreciate that you're loyal. It means a lot to us, and thank you for supporting 034, even through our dealers. That's really appreciated by us.
Yeah, and on that note, we are always trying to optimize, obviously, order fulfillment times. That is a metric we do not let slack. So we're working on making it better every time.
And keeping 100% of your products in stock is a real challenge.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if anyone in our industry does that, but that's been a challenge since COVID, especially. Is just I know you've heard it a million times, but it's still a problem. There's a container shortage now, which means there's ships waiting to sail here, but they don't leave for weeks because there's just not enough. The containers need to go back to China, and they're stuck here in the U.S. or wherever. So, there's still ongoing challenges despite COVID being. We got another minute or two. What do you recommend I need besides an intake and exhaust for stage 1 on a B7 A4? Our rear sway bar is awesome if you don't have that already.
I would strongly suggest an intercooler upgrade.
And the
B7 A4 is pretty tragic.
Yeah, do those two things, and some type of decent suspension. Are we coming out with springs for that? Can't remember if that was on the list.
B7?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so
depending on
we have springs coming in about a month or two. We'll be releasing those. I recommend doing that spring and just making sure you have good factory shocks and dampers.
Yeah, and just all the maintenance stuff, the injectors and fuel, the in-tank fuel pump, particularly on the B7A4s.
Yeah.
They tend to
Those
get
are
pretty
cool.
weak with age.
Do you have a TC tune for B8 S4 S5 that doesn't use the AMAX shifts?
This is where it goes every time. There is still on every version that we've updated the legacy. A legacy version has been left there for guys like this, or for setups like this, where you just for some reason don't want AMAX turned on. That's still there. You can still run that if you really want. That said, it's only going to AMAX shift when you're in launch control, where you generally want it to. So I'm not sure, I guess, quite what you're trying to get around or change.
Can we call those blue ball shifts? What are those
I
called?
don't know.
No Max? Cool.
No climax? Blue balls?
Mm-hmm.
Any additional fuel type tune for the B9 in the future?
That's what they were.
Yeah, when I
Oh,
saw
that
that question, you're going to have to tell us what type of fuel you're thinking about.
Avgas?
Yeah. That's just
We
that's
already have them all.
Diesel.
I
Propane.
guess gas wouldn't be diesel, but yeah. Jet.
One more. Are the normal driving shift points different in your stage 2 TCU tune for B9 3.0T? I find the stock tune upshifts too soon quickly when accelerating at a normal pace.
Yeah, that is all remapped on the stage 2 files.
Yeah. The stock tune is designed to maximize mileage and emissions, right? So the faster it shifts and gets into a higher gear, it brings the RPMs down. You're reducing fuel and reducing load on the engine. So that's the goal from the factory. So that's not necessarily very sporting, and so yes.
Yep. So, okay.
All right. Well, I think we're out of time. A
Good
couple
week.
minutes over. Thank
Good
you guys
week.
for all the questions, and hopefully any grumpy people got their questions answered.
I think we got most of them, I think.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll be out next Monday, so we'll do it later, mid-week next week.
We'll see you sometime.
All right. Cheers.